speaking of truth, a guy who knows how to dig it out of reluctant bureaucrats is our good friend at Judicial Watch, Tom Fitton, and he is joining us right now. Tom, good to have you back on the show, my friend.
Hey, good to be with you both. Good to see you.
We, at the top of the show, mentioned this letter that Jim Jordan said today. A big kudo to you at Judicial Watch, and we at Just the News, 2 episodes mentioned there are things that we dug up. This story about Dan Goldman getting some dirt sent to him by the FBI before a hearing, pretty remarkable because it shows an effort really to dirty up the a whistleblower, right?
Yeah, you know, we've all been around the block in terms of how congressional hearings work, and typically the minority party in a hearing, they don't have much visibility into the communications between an agency and the majority or the committee generally, and it's usually straightforward, sent to both parties. In this case, you had Goldman's top staffer communicate directly with the FBI, it looks like their Office of Legislative Affairs, about the whistleblowers. And according to the documents, they gave them information. We don't know what the information is, but it's pretty remarkable to see the Biden FBI working hand in glove with someone like Dan Goldman against whistleblowers who already were complaining about retaliation.
Yeah, great point.
Yeah. And I want to ask you about these pairs of letters from Jim Jordan, the chairman of Judiciary, to Michael Horowitz and Chris Wray. I have no doubt that Michael Horowitz is going to take this seriously. He trends in that direction every time that there is a legitimate complaint. But with respect to FBI Director Christopher Wray, what do you think the reception is going to be? Do you think that anything will be done on his part?
You know, I'm sure we'll get some distraction and noise from Chris Wray and a reaffirmation that the FBI never does anything wrong, even when it's caught red-handed. And even if Mr. Horowitz does something, the record demonstrates the FBI rarely holds their own people accountable for wrongdoing. And those who suffer are people who blow the whistle, or in the case of others who are simply trying to do their job, and they're punished because doing their job ends up putting the FBI in a political position that they don't want to be in when it comes to the regime.
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable. And I think the American public, look at all these episodes, Russia collusion, the lying to the court, opening up on Hillary Clinton, and they carry it all the way through, and the stuff that they withheld from the Trump impeachment. Over the last week, we've had all these stories from FBI dockets, 3.4 million pages the FBI got from Hunter Biden and his business partners in 2016, and they would have been exculpatory to Donald Trump's defense in the impeachment trial. They never got it. When you look back now, Tom, and you see the 2019-2020 impeachment over Ukraine, was that a ruse? Is there enough evidence now to say that the testimony and the story that was given the American people wasn't true?
Oh, sure. Everyone who was in a position to know knew that President Trump was right to be concerned about Ukraine corruption vis-a-vis the Bidens. And they were so desperate to distract from the fact that Biden had this liability, this criminal liability, they thought, well, we'll just, gaslight the entire country by pretending President Trump did something wrong in demanding accountability for the corruption involving the Bidens. And it turns out Trump was doing his job as chief executive and being a good steward of taxpayer funds to ask, what are we doing with this country in Ukraine that we've caught time and time again either interfering in our elections or corrupting our process further by taking care of Joe Biden and his family through the shady Burisma dealings. And I've said this once in other circumstances. President Trump deserves a medal for his anti-corruption work as president. He deserves a medal for firing Comey. He deserves a medal for blowing the whistle on Burisma and Biden. He's been proven right time and time again on these corruption issues he's been highlighting, and for which he was retaliated against. He was victimized because he did the right thing in terms of holding Comey accountable and Biden. We've had this unprecedented impeachment for him trying to protect the country from being bamboozled by corrupt Ukrainian politicians with their allies here in D.C.
Yeah, and I think the perception of much of America is that political retribution is continuing, especially in the case of this New York trial. And I don't think we've had you on since that guilty verdict. At which point the sentencing occurs, I imagine President Trump and his legal team are going to appeal. Do you think they should take it straight to the Supreme Court?
Oh, I think they should have taken it to the Supreme Court yesterday. I don't think they should wait for July 11th. I mean, it's abuse on top of abuse. I mean, we're facing the prospect of President Biden being held hostage to Judge Merchan and the campaign being held hostage. It's bad enough it's happening now during the campaign, but literally during a debate with Biden, he's going to be attacked on this. He's being attacked right now. And under this gag order, he can't fully defend himself. And on top of the whole involvement, or I would say the effort by New York Democrat politicians and a Biden donor, Judge Merchan, to hijack our federal campaign through this meritless prosecution and the sham verdict, it needs to be stopped by the federal courts. And the Supreme Court is uniquely positioned, given its unique authority in the federal system, to uphold the rule of law. You know, if the state of Arizona does something in the area of immigration law, the Justice Department comes down on them like a ton of bricks. Oh no, we own the area of immigration. You can't do anything. You're preempted. But you have a Democrat court up in New York use federal election law to hijack and disrupt our campaign by pretending they can prosecute crimes related to it, and the Biden Justice Department is silent. They should have come in and shut it down. And if the Justice Department won't do its job, maybe the Supreme Court will. And I don't think the country should have to wait to see Trump further abused and our system further compromised through another kangaroo court proceeding, which is now being called a sentencing, which to me is as a political a proceeding as anything you'd see in places like Russia or China or North Korea.
Tom, earlier today there were reports that the top judicial ethics body in New York is investigating Judge Engeron, the judge that presided over the Trump civil trial, because a lawyer, said he was talking to the judge outside the courtroom, having ex parte conversations about what to do in that case. Shocking revelation. It doesn't seem like the facts are in dispute. How big a deal could this become? We got about a minute left or so.
Well, it's another startling piece of evidence of ethical misconduct by the anti-Trump judges up in New York. Remember, Judge Merchan made donations to anti-Trump organizations, the Biden campaign. The Ethics Commission dinged him. He kept that secret from everybody. And Judge Engeron, in what universe would it be appropriate for a judge to talk with a lawyer for a good period of time, according to the account, about the various legal issues associated with the trial he was engaged in right then and there?
Yeah.
I've what passes for judicial ethics up in New York, that's one thing in terms of New Yorkers having to deal with it. But as we keep on highlighting, this ethical misconduct is interfering with our elections, and it's compromising our elections. And in the case of Engeron, remember what he did. He's trying to destroy, through his court rulings, President Trump's businesses, and restricting his ability, in theory, to fund his own campaign by calling him a fraudster and restricting the amount of money he would have available to it by with this exorbitant fine that no one ever contemplated in under the law in New York or anywhere else, given the fake crimes he was accused of.
Used to be lawyers used to pine for the opportunity to work in the New York court system. Today, a lot of say, I don't ever want to go there. I don't believe in it anymore. I know a lot of things. People love going to Judicial Watch's website. Why? Because you always get some big news. Tom Fitton, always an honor to have you on. Thanks for all the great work you do for transparency.